bro, you brought something up in your podcast that I actually saw as well, and you guys were talking about the hockey player that, and I don't know if this was this old news.
Oh, this recently happened.
That was so bad, bro. I mean,
I think it wasn't big news here because it happened in the UK. So
really,
it was a former NHL player.
Okay.
And then kind of like one of those things where if you're not ever good enough to get into an American professional league, or you start to decline in skill, you'll go play for like Canada or the UK.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened.
So, dude, I saw the video. It was rough. Do you think? I'm sorry. Who is the guest you had on? He's the first responder. I think he's he's fireman.
The guy I was talking to in that video.
Yeah, he had a good point. He said when you're interviewing, you can't come in with any preconceived judgment. But bro, I saw that video and it looked like he tried to just kick him right in the throat.
And he followed through with it. It wasn't just like, oh, I tripped and my leg went towards your throat. It was a,
Do you think it's like one of those things that...
Man.
I'm like... Sorry, I'm not trying to interrupt you, bro. Okay.
No, you're good. What's up? Oh,
yeah.
I don't know, man. We talked about it. There's not really much. I think I came to the conclusion that it was purposeful in the kick. And I think you'd be hard pressed to prove murder, because the only thing he is going to get charged with manslaughter or whatever
for sure
that is.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's why I was talking to that guy Eric. He's a retired cop, or he was like a cop for 10 years, and I was like, what if I went to punch you because I wanted to hurt you? I didn't intend it, but you had a brain aneurysm and you died. Like, I didn't mean to kill you.
Yeah.
But what I did was the cause of your death, which is manslaughter.
Man, dude, I bet I saw him get up, dude, and it was just like
I still haven't seen the whole video,
bro. It's pretty bad. It's
because
pretty bad.
That's happened in hockey twice, I think, 2 times, and both times they were able. At least once it was a goalie, and it was a complete accident. Like, you could see the guy went to stop and he flew, and the blade hit him in the neck. But first responders were able to get out there and put so much pressure on him and get him to the hospital, to where he was able to, they saved his life. But this guy, I guess what happened was the wasted time of like figuring out what's going on.
Do you think you even feel anything in that moment, or are you just like running on pure adrenaline?
Dude, it's like, I heard he was holding his face, so maybe the pain was in his face from like getting hit.
Yeah.
And like maybe you just don't feel like, I know when people are bleeding heavily, the last thing they think about that it's blood. Like, I knew a guy in Iraq that got blown up, and he was like upside down in his truck. He's dead now from a car crash that he was drinking in. But at the time,
shit! That's what took him out. Holy shit!
Yeah.
Wow.
And he was upside down in his MRAP. It's a monster truck Humvee essentially, and he was blood leaking all over him, but he thought it was motor oil, and he was like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna catch fire!" Like and then he realized his leg was all torn up. So it's like, and like I've heard instances where people were bleeding profusely, and they were just like, "Who keeps pouring? Like, where's this water coming from?" Because this is the last thing they think about, because it doesn't hurt.
You don't realize how much blood the body pumps out, bro. When you're leaking like that,
yeah,
it's crazy. I saw a video of a politician that, it's already starting off as a dark podcast, but I saw a politician, he took his own life on camera, and it was just like, I don't know why. I feel like I've been seeing these like more and more gory videos on X and on the internet. It's just brutal, bro.
Well, when we were kids, you used to have to get on LimeWire or Kazaa to get videos like that. That was not, or rent Faces of Death from like the local VHS store in the back. But like, that stuff. But that happened a long time ago. That guy that killed himself was like, he was getting charged with something. I think he was going to go to prison for the rest of his life, like something along the lines of like touching kids. And so, or maybe I'm confusing it with a guy that took a cyanide pill. You can see him take it in court when they're going over his verdict, and then he just falls over and dies. And but like you said, dude, Twitter, you can see that's horrifying as a parent. Oh, you can see what you can see on Twitter. Like, that is.
His name was Bud Dwyer.
The guy that shot himself?
Yeah, the guy that shot himself. It's an American politician, served from 65 to 71 as a Republican member of the Pennsylvania House of Representatives from 1971 to 1981. He, you know what I realized is because I was looking back at our last episodes and I read so slow. I just like took everything out that I read because it was so boring. So now I'm like trying to read like, Dwyer was convicted of accepting a found guilty. But
like those, like the medicine commercials.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, you find a lot of these videos of kids fighting or even like set up fights, you know? I mean, do you think that stuff should be allowed on X?
No, man. And I mean, I love the fact that that's the age-old tale of censorship. Who dictates it? Because it's a different level for everybody. So like for me, you know, obviously like people like me and you, the other political party shouldn't be silenced, which was, you know, I was reading something or watching something last night where Twitter was an arm of the state. It was media, it was state media.
Yeah.
Right. It was just government media. That's it. When Elon took it, now you can see you can watch porn on Twitter. You can watch people die on Twitter. And it's like, if that's going to be the case, it needs to be age restricted. Like kids should not be allowed on Twitter.
Yeah.
And, it's like you said, there's things of kids fighting now.
Yeah. You know, high school fights. And what happens is it gets all this attention. And then I feel like it encourages other kids, you know, oh, let's get into a fight and we'll film it. Or maybe, you know, they do it for clicks and likes and views. Yeah.
Yeah. That's sad because as a parent, you know, can you imagine being a parent and seeing your kid getting beat up on Twitter? Like now your kid's got to go through that.
He's got to,
as a parent,
live it over and over. Yeah.
Yeah. It's awful. And I mean, that's, again, every day I'm realizing that social media is the fucking devil. Like what it's doing to our society. Now we're so integrated with social media that our society couldn't function without it. Everything, every business plan, everything now has social media written into it and how to utilize social media. Because if you don't, you'll fail in whatever it is that you do.
Yeah.
You know? So it runs our life and shit like fucking kids fighting at school. Well, you're fucking kids shouldn't even have cell phones at school, but fucking elementary school kids have cell phones at school. My kid's the outcast because he doesn't have one.
Oh yeah, is he been asking for one?
He used to ask for one all the time, and eventually I told him when he goes to middle school. So like he's got an iPad, right? So he's able to connect with his friends. I monitor it, but the iPad stays in the house and or goes to his friends so they can play Fortnite or whatever. But like, you know, the cell phone thing, I told him when he starts walking to middle school, because the middle school is really right down the road. So when he's walking, that's when I want him to have, when he's not near a responsible adult, that's when he'll have a phone.
Yeah.
And he knows it, dude. The first time, because one time I just got a hair up my ass and I went, this is probably a year and a half, 2 years ago. I went and checked his iPad and it was like Google searches, like people kissing. And like, it was like... and like and he was watching some Spanish love show where like it was like, you know, and I was like,
dude, it's the version of our Squiggles, bro. You remember you know the Squiggles, like you would like on cable TV, you could flip the channel, you could get like Showtime. I remember one time I was it was probably
that was called the Spice Channel, and it was channel 98.
Dude, I was watching the Spice Channel through the Squiggles probably around like 12:30 a.m. and my mom came in to check on me, and I was laying there. I was like, oh, you know, you could maybe see a tit through like one of the Squiggles. You're like, oh hell yeah! And then my mom comes in, and I'm like, oh man, the cable's not working, Mom. I'm not really sure what's going on. I'm trying to change it as fast as I can, and all I can see is like this nipple in maybe one of the bars. And it's like, oh, my mom had to have been like, oh, the cable's not working. Yeah, okay.
Have you ever seen American Pie? That's literally the intro to American Pie.
Oh, is it? You know, like kids now will never know the Squiggles, bro.
Remember that or E Network past like 11 p.m.?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Girls
Gone Wild.
Oh, yeah, that was. It would show you all the previews. Oh.
You'd have Howard Stern. You've had Brooke Burke on E Hollywood. Like she would go like just do documentation, but in a bikini in exotic lands, and that was a struggle.
Bro, Howard Stern now. So he went from girls orgasming on.
And throwing hot dogs at them.
Yeah, and to now he's trying to shift into some bastion of virtue.
Well, I mean, look at, dude, they just recently found old footage of him in blackface. Just completely, like, the most racist shit, the things he was saying.
Oh, dude.
And he gets a pass because he's on the left. You know, they would fucking destroy him. You would never see him again if he was a right-winger or if he was conservative.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, have you ever heard of a guy named Tim Pool?
Yeah.
Everybody's telling me to start, like, watching him. And then the guy, you know, so.
Tim Pool, he's notoriously accused of sitting on the fence. Oh, shit. Oh, my God. Please hold. My Siri just fucking turned on and stopped my recording. Jesus.
Can you keep all this in here?
Yeah, on your end.
What the fuck, phone?
All right, we're back. God,
We never left.
We never left. I'm gonna have to line this up. Okay, Tim Pool. Tim Pool, yeah.
You said he sits on the fence.
Notorious fence sitter. Yeah, he's definitely. I mean, he used to work with Vice, and he used to go overseas and get, into. He would do live reporting on chaos, and I think
he went against Antifa, right?
Yeah, he went against. Yeah, I mean, he went against Antifa. But why? So someone told you should start watching Tim Pool. I mean, it's I watch him. I'm subscribed to him.
Yeah, I just never heard of him. So somebody was like, "Oh, I've heard of him, but I didn't know what he was." And somebody was like, "Oh, yeah, he's good."
He works so hard. I mean, he does a show every single day, multiple videos every single. I mean, he did the interview with Kanye where Kanye walked out.
Oh, I heard he has a compound too.
Yeah, he does. It's yeah. I don't know where he's located, but yeah, he's pretty good. He covers everything, and he does it every single day.
Man, dude. So right, out at work, I hadn't been to my primary job in like 2 weeks. Right, I was cross training with another unit, and then we took the weekend and we went to Jacksonville with the podcast, and I was just like enjoying my life. I was having a good time, and I was like, all right, I got to go back to work on Wednesday, which was yesterday, right? So I was like, you know what? Essentially I was 2 weeks away from my primary assignment, which is putting on a uniform and go out there and fucking doing grunt work. I'm not a suit and tie guy. As soon as I get back, I get a phone call that says, hey, I need you to come to the office. We need to reopen a complaint that we already closed. Oh. And I'm like, okay. So I go. So what had happened was, there's a main road, right? Mm-hmm. There was an 18-wheeler coming down this road, slow as shit, like 15 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. And I pull up through a side street, and I need to make a right to get to my buddies who are on the other side street, right? You can see their lights and sirens. I was trying to back them up because they had a guy overdosing, right?
Okay.
So I pull up. This tractor trailer is not going very fast. So I pull out in front of him, and then I make my next right to this other side street. Well, this guy, he's got a camera, says that I cut him off, right?
He made a complaint over this.
Sent it to IA, right? IA was like, this isn't really the type of stuff we do, so they sent it to my chain of command.
What's really quick? What's IA? What's IA?
Internal Affairs.
Internal Affairs. Okay, copy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, 10-4. So I make the right onto the main road. He gets right up on my ass and is riding my ass to make a point. I didn't see him because I'm focused on getting to my buddies. He can also see the emergency lights going off, like wiggle, 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 red and blue. Right? You're supposed to slow down if you're in the lane next to them, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't. He's making it a point. So clearly this guy's not a supporter of law enforcement, or doesn't just support the fact that law enforcement has to go in and out of traffic to help people, right? That's why we have emergency lights. So in the industry where people complain on him, right? He's got the same thing going on. He's got a driver number. He's got a truck number. This guy calls in and complains on me. Well, so we go through it. My chain of command looks at it and goes, he's riding your ass and he's not slowing down for emergency lights. Like, you're good. They closed it out. The major, right? Apparently This is what's been told to me because this is all political now. Anything from lieutenant to captain to major is all politics, right? I'm the grunt, shitty street cop that I'm going to get punished no matter what. I heard that the major said because it's an outside complaint with video footage, there has to be punishment. They reopened it and wrote me up formally.
How are you supposed to do your job, dude?
Well, first day back, I told my supervisor, I'm going to fucking quit. And we know each other. We're close. He's my corporal. Like, obviously, he's not going to be like, no. But I was like, I'm fucking done with this job. As soon as I can walk the fuck away from this job, like, this is the most. I was having a good attitude of coming back. In the day I get back from 2 weeks, you hit me with this shit. Like, of course, that's why you're not going to find good cops out there. All the good cops are fucking quitting. And they're hiring people that just need jobs. And then that's when you get the bad police calls where really bad things happen, is because you don't have people that are passionate out there anymore. The guys that wanted to make a difference and serve their community are walking away because of liability. It's miserable.
It's not worth it.
But that's my rant. Now.
So what happens now? So now you got a formal written complaint. What is like 3 formal written like how does it work?
I don't know, dude. They said supposedly if you get a formal written reprimand after a year, you can call and have a process taken out of your file, right? You can after 365 days, you can have it. And that's I guess that's a track, in theory, that's a track to make sure that you're not messing up a lot in 1 year, right? They can say, we have paper on this guy. But, and I was like, you know what? Leave it in. I've left all mine in. And my corporal's like, what do you mean leave it in? I was like, leave it in because that gives me credibility as a street cop. Another cop never trusts a cop unless they've been written up for stupid shit. Because that's when like, if you were a cop and I had just met you, I would want to know your write-ups. I want to know what you got in trouble for. But are you a bad cop to be around? I don't want to be around. But the good cops get written up for the dumbest shit when people complain. So, it's almost like having a resume in my packet. Like, oh, this guy gets written up. He's a good cop. That's the way I look at it.
That's just, that sucks. That's annoying.
And when everybody sees, when they're like, people are like, that cop's not driving very fast, or your response time to my house wasn't very fast. It's like, bitch, I ain't going to drive fast at all. It's not, I drive fast. I careen into somebody to get to you. Another cop's going to get to you, and I'm going to get in trouble. So it's almost like.
So people, like the people in the higher chain of command, they're just not on your side. They're just not on the street cop side? Or what?
No, and they haven't been on the road in at least 20 some years. I mean, they haven't seen, when they were on the road, they were fucking skull stomping people and fucking beating the fuck out of people. That's just what cops did in the 70s and 80s and probably early 90s. That's what they did. Not all of them, but a lot of them did. It was just, now society's flipped that narrative and they want full, which is fine. I get it.
Yeah.
They want full, they want transparency in police work. And so now we're paying for those guys' sins when, they go up and they go, oh, I didn't like the way you took that person down. Oh, like the way that person was fighting me and I had to throw them on the ground to resist them and put them in handcuffs. You just didn't like it. And they were like, well, I'm fucking telling you, dude, I've gotten talked to because I was fighting a female who was bigger than me. She was a prostitute. I took her to the ground because she wouldn't stop reaching for her bag, right? I don't know what's in this bag.
Yeah.
I took her to the ground. She was fighting me the whole time in the middle of the fucking road, right? So I have to worry about her trying to get away and getting careened by a car. And she starts yelling in the middle of all this, I'm pregnant, right? Okay, well, stop fighting me. If in all reality, if am I just supposed to go, oh shit, you're pregnant? Okay, let me get off you. Sorry, my bad. Go, dude. Don't worry about it. Like, so she didn't tell me beforehand, hey, I'm pregnant, and then start verbally resisting me, right? Because at that time, if someone tells me I'm pregnant and goes and I know I'm gonna have to go hands on, I'm probably gonna bring in new resources, or if she wants to run. I'm not gonna tackle a pregnant chick. It's not worth the liability, right, for a misdemeanor crime. But we're already in the middle of the road fighting. And so my chain of command said they didn't like the way it looked because it was a black female white cop and she was screaming, I'm pregnant. Just those variables. They didn't like it. Like,
dude,
sorry, I only beat up white dudes now.
It makes your job so difficult, bro. I saw a video of a tinier woman cop dealing with, he claimed he was a vet and he was losing his mind, right? She ended up shooting and killing him because he was coming after her saying, I'm going to kill you, right? So a pretty appropriate response because she could have been killed. He could have taken her gun, but it brings me back. I was thinking about this because there was a time when my girlfriend she was wanting to do, she has a degree in biological anthropology, right? And she was wanting to do forensics, do vice, things like that, and help with kids getting sex trafficked. Okay. And part of that deal was that you would have to do 2 years worth of patrolling with someone else, right? And so she was meeting some of the cops in the industry and she would do the training. And one time, one of the cops came to our house or whatever. I don't know why. Bro, dude, I could tell when these
official police business, Kyle.
I could tell when these cops had a crush on Itza. Like it was so obvious. And he came into my house. I had a beer on the. You're
not driving, are you, son?
Yeah. And he walked in. He had a problem that I had the beer in my own apartment. I was like I'm not working, bro. And so I was like, you're in my apartment. You know that, right? And so we got to talking and it was cool. Like it was just whatever. But so we got to talking and I said, listen, I go, because my girlfriend, she's 95 pounds, 5 foot, 4'11", right? And I said, I do worry about her being in any type of authority position where she would have, she would have to deal with someone or maybe, even if she is on patrol and things go wrong. And what is she going to do in this situation? She has she can't apprehend like a 6 foot dude, a big 6 foot dude. He goes, I go, what do you think about smaller women or, even smaller men being in the police force? He points to his gun and he goes, the great equalizer. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, wait a second, doesn't that kind of put the public at risk? Because if you are hiring people that aren't physically capable of, restraining somebody, right? You can restrain somebody, right? But when it comes, it forces the cops to only use lethal force because that would be her only option in that scenario. So what is your take on hiring people with, physicalities that aren't up to par? Because I feel like they do it and they just say, oh yeah, we have a gun, so don't worry about it.
Well, first off, you're wildly sexist for saying any of
You're
this.
right. You're right. All right.
Anything that they want.
Okay. You're right.
So shut your ignorant mouth.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay, second, you're right. It could because it's all perception for the officer, right? So if I see someone half my size, I'm going to be a lot more gentler with them in the apprehension phase.
Gentle, yeah.
Until they turn out to be an MMA expert, it just all depends. Like if I see a dude that's half my or 6 inches shorter than me, but he's got cauliflower ear on both ears, he might go straight to the taser, right? He's gonna kick my ass, and it's all perception. And like you said, a 95-pound, 5'1" girl going to apprehend a 6'1", 250-pound dude. I don't care what degree black belt you are. And they're going to fucking hate me for this. All the BJJ people. It's not going to work. He's going to take your arm bar and go like this. Break your back, right? And then he's going to stomp your skull in. So it's just... So in order for that cop to be safe, she has to use a great equalizer, right? And it's just... And it does put because maybe this guy he didn't want to kill a cop. He didn't even want to fight a cop. He was trying to get away, right? Mm-hmm. And him going to that cop to push that small, tiny cop, that cop perceives that he's going to kill me, and then it's bam, bam, right? So should the guy have been... And that shooting would have been justified all day. It would have been justified all day. He went after... She articulated, I was fucking scared. He's twice my size. It would have been a clean shoot. But that guy, he made a mistake, which would have been a felony. He would have done a year in prison rather than died for pushing that cop. And so it's just one of those things where... And until society says, hey, if you don't meet these size criteria, you can't be a cop, man and women, we're gonna run into those problems all day.
I've met great cops out here in California. I've also met, I ever tell you that one time I was detained?
I don't think so.
No, my headlights didn't work. And it was a long, long time ago. I was going to a girlfriend's house and I pulled up and he had been following me without his lights on. I didn't even realize. So I pulled over, I parked in front of her house. I get out of the car and he's like, "Hey, get over here." I was like, "Oh shit." I was like, "Okay." And so, I walk over there. He pushes me up against the front of his car. So I'm in front of my girlfriend's house looking like a total bitch. Just like, and I'm like, he's like, he's patting me down. He sits me on the sidewalk. He's like, "Why are you driving without your headlights on?" I said, "Oh, my ECM," because it was funny. It was an old cop car. This is like a known problem.
It was a Crown Vic.
Crown Vic, yeah. It looked like he's like, "Why are you driving without your headlights on?" I'm like, "Oh,
he thought you were impersonating a cop."
Yeah, and what was even worse is I shot a short film in the desert. I had fake cop lights in the back of my car too, and so he's like, and I knew this in my head, and I'm like, fuck. I was like, I'm not trying to impersonate a cop. And he goes, "Can I search your car?" And I said, "No." I just got it clean. You can't search the car. I'm sorry.
That's back when Kyle smoked weed.
Yeah, and so. He goes, "Oh, I can't." He's like, "Well, why?" He's like, "You got something in there?" And I said, "No, I just, you guys tend to not put things back." I go, "I just cleaned it. I just got it nice. I'm getting ready to see my girlfriend, whatever." And he's like, and so he really pushed it. So I was like, "Okay, fine. Sir, I mean, I don't have anything, but I was worried about these cop lights that I had." And it was like, he's like totally gonna think I'm trying to fake up. And so he searches the car. He calls for backup, bro. They close the street down. They had 4 cop cars blocking off all the streets. They're searching the car. They start smirking because they're like, "Dude, this kid's got nothing in his car." It's like, and they did find the cop lights. He's like, "Why you got the cop lights in the car?" I'm like, "I just shot a short film in the desert. They wanted to use the car as a cop car, right?" And he was like, me at this point, I'm nervous. I go, "Well, you can have them. You can have the lights. Don't worry about it." And he goes, "I got my."
You want the change? You want the money?
Yeah, dude, I felt like I was being mugged. And so he's like, "I got my own cop lights, kid." And I remember as I was sitting down, I was talking to him, and the last thing he said to me, it was the worst advice I ever got. He goes, "Listen, bud," he goes, "don't ever say no to the cops. Don't ever say no." I was like, "Okay. All right, sorry."
Oh my!
He was, because I think what happened, he was on a power trip because his other buddies started ripping on him because I could see them laughing. Like, why would you call backup? This kid has nothing, and he was accidentally driving with his lights off. But yeah, I remember that. I just remember feeling like so just. I was like, don't ever say no to the cops. It's funny talking to you about this because are there any cops on your team that like it gets their head?
It's just harder nowadays to find them. There's cops that I work with. I guess they're not on my team specifically, but that's a new guy thing, and they usually get fired or they get their ass kicked on the road, and then that kind of resets them. Like, when I pull people over, I tell them all the time, "Can I search their car?" If I want to get into your car, because I know you've got hardcore drugs or guns in there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask you. I'm going to find another legal way to get into your car, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to use the 2-boundary marijuana rule, which is scent and seeing something. You can't just go off scent anymore. I'm going to get K9 to alert on your car. I'm going to see something. I'm just going to find another way. I'm not going to ask. Now, if I don't know, it's perfectly legal to go, "Hey, man, can I search your car? You're coming out of a shady area. I don't know you. I've never seen you before. Do you mind if I search your car?" A lot of people will go, I don't know, should I? And I go, "No, don't allow me to search your car." I'm just asking. A lot of people, because you do, there's crazier things we found in cars where people said yes, and you almost feel bad.
Are you ever just like, are you ever like it's just not worth it? Like, it's just not, do you ever just, if people, even though they're coming out of a shady area, it's just not worth like.
I'm developing more into a constitutionalist as I get older and less as a cop, like trying to find it.
Yeah.
My thing is on the roadways, you're free game. I don't mess with people in their neighborhoods. I try not to. And if you're going on a public roadway, you're free game. And again, I don't really. I'm really good at reading people now, and I can tell when someone's just like, "Hey, hey, oh yeah, I'm not gonna give them people a hard time. I call them the taxpayers. Kids too. I don't mess with kids too much. But as you do this job, you can tell the criminals, and most of them don't even stop for you anyway. So,
Are you allowed to chase them or no? Are you allowed to chase them?
no, you can only chase for violent felonies. So if somebody were to commit a violent felony on you, and then I see the car, I'm allowed to chase that. And usually those even get terminated because of the liability. But bro, I gotta go.
Oh, yeah.
We will pick this up. I love the remember the liability and whether or not police chases are worth it.
Okay.
Keep going, Pat. Screw you!